Hey guys, hope you're well, and welcome back to another episode. Back in 1989, Sunsoft released Batman for the NES. Sunsoft had released a few hits before this, and were proving to be a reliable, quality developer. It's a relief that this project came to them, unlike where so many superhero and movie-based games went to die. Luckily, the fate of this game was spared, along with its somewhat similar Sunsoft cousin that came out on the Genesis a couple years later. Whenever we rotate back to 8-bit, it's games like this that help remind me why I love this era so much. The action starts as soon as you press that power switch. Batman on the NES is known for having a great soundtrack, and it doesn't take long to realize why. Batman isn't a very long game, with just 5 stages, typically with a few short sections each. You start learning the basics of punching and jumping immediately, and it doesn't take long for your other two abilities to come into play. Wall jumping plays quite the role in platforming in this game. Secondly, you can rotate between 3 sub-weapons that you also have access to, as long as there's ammunition. Which, by the way, there's usually plenty of that. Batman seems simple at first, but like a lot of classic 8-bit challenges, the learning curve in some areas can be quite stiff. Fortunately for us, there's unlimited continues. No completely rage-inducing true game overs here, just get kicked out of the boss rooms to the last section when you lose your lives. By no means does this make the challenge mild. Just like these other brutal classics without true game overs, Batman is really tough to finish off. It gets deliberately hard as crap the further you progress, and it will quickly humble folks that are foolish enough to think this is going to be some walk in the park. Let's see what it takes to defeat this old beast and show Joker who's going to have the last laugh this time. Hold on to your utility belts and keep those eyes peeled. Because I'm Jeff, and this is Marmax Gaming. First level is Gotham City. Gotta love those cutscenes. The sprite art is really good in them throughout the whole game. They're simple, but man, they are freaking epic. At this early point is when it seems you can pretty much punch everything, and Batman can punch really fast. There's basically no cooldown time whatsoever, and every hit counts, which is pretty crazy. The running soldiers, scooting robots, and flamethrower enemies all test you in a slightly different way. You have to admire the solid attempt at a detailed city background. As the music kicks into the swing of things, it's such a strong first impression. There are also gun enemies, which aren't too hard, but they're something different. Where they first introduced the necessity of wall jumping, there's a tall shaft that makes it easy to try and get a feel for this new ability. In general, Batman has solid jumping control. It's not as fluid and floaty as Mario, for example, but he's got a more realistic weight to him. You can shorten your jump height by tapping versus holding the button. Even off of the walls makes a significant difference. You have a lot of control and can steer Batman quite well once you're practiced. There are 2 jetpack enemies in a row that really foreshadow something. If you know how it's done, then getting rid of one of these guys is pretty easy, but when you're figuring it out, it goes completely wrong. Same with this ninja. He seems like a big deal until you realize he's just not. The foreshadowing is, this is how bosses are too. They feel totally ridiculous until you realize how it's done. The first boss we fight is Killer Moth. If you were to try to fight this guy in the middle of the screen, it would seem freaking impossible, but if you just stood to the side, it's the easiest thing ever since he doesn't even attack you. He's just on a loop to swoop through the middle of the screen or shoot projectiles. To be totally honest, it's kind of a lazy way to handle making a boss. But whatever, there's sick music, and I love that jetpack startup. It sounds awesome. Another excellent cutscene shows the Batmobile gunning through a bay door and sliding in. So much style, you just can't get enough of it. Second level is the Axis Chemical Factory, reportedly the Joker's hideout. This is when platforming inches up bit by bit and gameplay gets even more interesting. The overall design of Batman does a great job at doing this for the rest of the game. And the music, what in the world kind of miraculous track is this? It's so unique and just freaking awesome. As the levels get tougher, your platforming is called on more and more, so is the tendency to lean on sub-weapons. The jumping isn't just trickier, it's more punishing with damaging hazards, such as the green acid and high voltage electricity ready to zap blocks from your health. An important enemy to point out, that you'll probably realize is quite unique at some point, is that these little mechs keep respawning unless you go through the hassle of destroying their base. They continue to drop ammunition and sometimes health, so as long as you have your punching rhythm down, it can be really helpful. There are also spiky wheels out there to catch Batman on the last stretches of platforming. In order to make this a much easier boss fight, you're definitely going to want ammo in order to destroy the Machine Intelligence System. There's a series of weak points to take out, and they can take a little bit of time, especially if you're going about this the safe way. Unless you know how to get in there without being hit to spam your punches, this is how the fight plays out. Taking out the guns first, which takes quite a bit of shots. Then taking out the second weak point while hoping the lasers don't block your shot. And once these two are down, the final phase can start. You actually have to time your shots quite carefully when the spread shot is up, because it alternates with the last weak point. It's honestly quite surprising and amazing how quickly it changes back to protect its weak point, and it'll continue to react to anything less than perfect shots. The next cutscene is when we actually get some dialogue and hear from Joker himself. He asks, "Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?" What in the world? He's pretty creepy in this game. The third level, as many could attest to, is a rude awakening in the underground conduit. These damn monsters are some of the most frustrating and annoying enemies I've ever encountered. Once they're off and jumping around, it's extremely hard to not get handled over and over. The safest thing you can do is try to take them out as they're barely on screen. Otherwise, you've got to make a swift recovery, and going toe-to-toe with these guys takes a lot of practice. You get to see several more of them with the little robots in the second section, with some cool water graphics and additional platforming. That isn't too bad, certainly not compared to the third section. In the caverns, we've got a few bigger robots that scoot left and right while shooting projectiles, which can and will rack up damage in a hurry. The struggle here is getting sent back. It's not a short section, and you get shot at like this in a few areas that combine the little robots with the big guy. It's not easy, it takes time getting used to. You've got to play clean to get a shot at the boss. The platforming, of course, adds to the challenge, which is fun and cleverly put together to make use of how accurate your jumping can be, while also, of course, being dangerous if you're less than precise. This level gave me quite a hard time, from the annoying monsters in sections 1 and 2, mixed with the length of problems in section 3. The boss though, Electrocutioner, is quite the handful. You've got to play him pretty awkwardly, and I'm not sure I really enjoy the fight. It's a cool sprite with dangerous attacks, but it's just kind of weird that you need to keep things to such an influential, tight pattern to stand a chance. If you don't do it this way, it seriously seems impossible. Even with this trick, it takes forever. Look at how many rockets this guy takes from our bat gun. It keeps in line with the boss theme so far. If you don't know a good place to stand or know what's going on, it's going to feel impossible. I'd say they definitely nailed some super creepy illustrations of the Joker in this game. He kinda looks more like a green witch than normal, but I like it. It's not the last creepy image we'll see of him either. Here's the fourth level, Laboratory Ruins. It's the last stage broken into 3 sections, and they definitely make them count. They let you know they're not playing around with their first monster. Not these guys again. You can of course get through them without taking much or even any damage, but it never changes the fact that they're just a big, dangerous, and spazzy enemy to deal with. We've been enjoying the music thus far in the adventure, and Laboratory Ruins is right up there, and some may argue is the best song in the game. I love that chorus. It's freaking sick and gets me so pumped to finally reach the Joker and finish Batman for my very first time. It's so annoying to keep falling down at parts like this, because all you want to do is move forward, but it's times like this, when you're facing a tough retro challenge as it blasts you with its amazing 8-bit tunage, each time you get sent back, you're hit with that same menacing intro, which shortly catapults you forward with so much momentum and energy, as if there's wind at your back to get the job done. The only problem is, it's hard as hell. Even once you're through the agonizing wall jumps with the little robots zipping back and forth, you still have more to climb, with plenty of enemies, including those big robots, in your way. The boss itself is made up of 2 squares, referred to as the dual container alarm. It's once again another fight that comes down to knowing where to stand, or crouch in this instance. After doing way too much, trying too hard for too long, of course it only makes sense that all you have to do is come up here and crouch while spamming punch. It doesn't mean you can't or won't get shot or hurt sometimes, but it gives you such an insane advantage. You just need to manage to have enough health to finish it off. What's really too bad, after deaths like these, are getting game overs and having to do that whole third section again. This is actually the section I struggled with the most for a while. I could not consistently get past that damn robot. I just kept getting clipped and knocked down, and it was seriously so frustrating. After getting to the last container and whipping those boomerangs out with a prayer, we're finally onward to the last level in the game. We get a nice shot of the tall cathedral we're on the way to, flying our Batwing. The unfortunate part is that Batman decides to land it on the ground instead of the top of the tower. It's just one section in the cathedral before the boss fights. It's a bit longer than a typical section on its own, plus as you could guess, it's one of the hardest sections in the entire game. 2 moments are actually near impossible to get by without taking damage. Not kidding, but we'll see that soon enough. It doesn't take long to recognize the music. They brought back the great soundtrack from level 1 again. Given how consistently great all of the music was, from start to finish, I think it's cool when games do this. Ninja Gaiden did it with its level 1 music and the final section of 6-3, for example. It's quite the long vertical stretch, lasting a couple minutes at a decent pace with no checkpoints until the boss room. You have to be very careful with all those wall jumps and doing your best to time the attacks on your enemies. There are multiple somewhat tricky moments in this final climb, but the 2 most notoriously tight squeezes are right here. The gaps are so tight that it's actually just common strategy to take damage and jump through. I started to think they felt impossibly tight. It wasn't expecting to get through after being hit so many times, but just in case, I kept trying, and after about a half hour of retries on the final level, miraculously, I got through not once, not twice, but actually 3 times. It's just a horribly tight jump. If you approach with low health, it's basically the end for you. Another tricky jump, although not quite as unforgiving, is at the end of the stage. This is all part of the last set of wall jumps needed in the entire game. In the final boss room, we encounter Firebug, an enemy that, I have to admit, I never even heard of until this game. And would you believe it, that it's another fight that drastically changes as soon as you know where to stand and know exactly what to do? It all becomes simple. Once you jump over the large orb and then throw some boomerangs, rinse and repeat. If you do fall out of line or rhythm, even just a little though, you'll get a flurry of punches, and yeah, there's no way you can do anything about an attack like this. Reminds me of getting helplessly beat up in the corner by the executioner. All bets are off though once we get to the Joker. Cutscene sets it up nicely, and here we go. Fun fact, according to what I read, apparently the Joker fight wasn't even in the game at first, and included later. They initially had his defeat just coming in the way of a cutscene, which would have been insanely lame. However, the Joker fight they do end up giving you is kind of a nightmare. His bullets do 3 pegs of damage. That's insane. That's like Shredder from TMNT damage. Just tears right through you. It's pretty insane that the Joker can summon lightning, but this is what you'll be hoping for since it just does one peg of damage. You have to come equipped and throw those batarangs like it's nobody's business, absolutely whipping them out as fast as you can as you try to stay ready for those quick jumps to avoid those gunshots. Trying to get the spacing right for the lightning, avoiding those bullets, and jumping over him is a tall order. It's brutal losing here and getting sent back to do that tower, over and over and over again. Batman doesn't even have true game overs, it's unlimited continues, which is what really saves this game from being even harder to beat. But as we saw, if this game ever stopped you, I wouldn't feel bad about it at all, because there are so many brick wall moments that only become possible once you know exactly where to stand and what to do. They're not nearly as dynamic as the Joker fight. It's brutal with those 3 damage bullet shots, but this is by far the best and most interesting boss fight in the entire game. I wish more of them were like this, but just less harsh attacks. Anyway, you need to finally conquer that climb and have yourself a really solid fight in order to finally take the Joker down and put this game to rest. It's actually pretty shocking to see Batman be so merciless with the Joker, saying he will avenge his parents and just yeets the Joker out the window to his death. We are still disturbed though with one final image of that haunting Joker spread art used in this game. Batman is an NES classic. It scored decently well in its time, reviewers noted its graphics, fun gameplay, and outstanding soundtrack. It also has a legacy of being one of the toughest NES games according to multiple sources. That legacy is no doubt due to those hard roadblock moments of not knowing what to do and stopping so many players, even tenacious ones, right in their tracks. Speaking of Batman, believe it or not, I think it's even a bit harder on the Super Nintendo, at least the one we looked at previously, The Adventures of Batman and Robin. Batman on the NES, if you know what you're doing and don't get sent back, it's totally reasonable to finish this game in under 20 minutes, but it has the type of raw challenge that can keep folks at bay, wrestling with it for years.